back to my YouTube channel. Don't mind me as I'm looking up at my laptop. Today's video by the title is going to be another advice and tips on my experience interviewing with another airline. This time around, again, as you see by the title, I interviewed with EndeavorAir. So I'm gonna have to also go through my email to kind of give you all a timeline of events, like the time span that it took to hear back as far as applying, getting in the phone interview, and then the next steps upon that. So please bear with me as I'm like looking back and forth at the camera and then my laptop. So I have my notes here, things like that. So I interviewed applied March 13th. The email that I received from one of the recruiters personally was March 25th. It more or less just said, "Dear Destiny, thank you for your interest in the flight attendant position at EndeavorAir, a wholly owned subsidiary of Delta Airlines," as I already mentioned. It says, "Please pick a phone interview time. We can meet from the following time slots. All of our phone interviews are scheduled during Central Standard Time." So there is a blue hyperlink within that email. You'll just want to click that directly so that way you can see the most up-to-date time slots open and available to you to schedule your phone interview. And I believe that this is like up to date consistently, so if you don't see anything available, that could just very well be for the fact that there is no available time slots open, because in the past with other airlines that I've interviewed with this process, sometimes you'll see like a grayed out slot or multiple slots that are grayed out. This essentially means that they just at the time don't have any open available slots to proceed with the phone interview. So that was received March 23rd personally, and then I believe I scheduled my interview. Then I received, so March 23rd, Monday, March 25th, I officially accepted and processed everything because I'm terrible at keeping track with my emails. My boyfriend can definitely verify that, but I scheduled it for Tuesday, April 16th of this year at 10:30 a.m. Now the time span, the interview alone will take about 15 minutes max. If you exceed that, don't freak out. I think, if you happen to be in a situation where your interview takes a bit longer than 15 minutes, at least you know that there's good conversation going. You've made a connection with the recruiter, the person that's personally interviewing you, and it may be in relation to questions that you might have, because of course, as always, they always ask at the end, "Do you have any questions?" That is a good moment to say, "Yes, I do." A lot of times, personally, the best question I feel to ask is, what are the next steps in the interview process? Because that then opens the door for the recruiter to say, "Well, yeah, absolutely. We definitely want to invite you out to the face-to-face." So that kind of brings in, that smooths the pathway, I guess you could say. You're kind of paving the way for the recruiter. If you feel really confident about the interview and you know that you're definitely going to get this, that's kind of a way to say, "Hey, I want to know for sure." So that's a good question to ask at the end. And then, of course, any other questions you may have as far as, things that were presented in the interview, if you received any cool little nuggets and things that they told you about the airline, if you want to know something further, that's, again, a great opportunity to ask those questions, because that shows further your interest. That really shows a recruiter that you're definitely interested in this, and also that you've done your research and just want to know more. So I scheduled April 16th, 10:30. I received the call, I think at like 10:31 or 2. I've noticed with phone interviews, you'll be waiting there with your phone and you're just so anxious, and then it takes them like maybe a minute to 5 minutes at most to like actually call you. So don't freak out if you don't get a call right at that like minute that you're supposed to have your scheduled interview, because a lot of times these recruiters are just kind of going down the line, I think, of potential candidates and just kind of rolling with the process and on to the next person to interview. So don't freak out. You're definitely next in line if you have it scheduled. Just keep in mind that they're probably getting through other interviews, and as soon as they're done with you on the phone, they're probably getting ready for another person. So I would imagine that their job is very exhausting and a little redundant. But thank God for them, because they're great people, and they're the reason why we get these opportunities, because there's people that are willing to interview us. Personally, I do like the concept of phone interviews, although for some odd reason, I do get a little more nervous with the phone interviews than the actual face-to-face itself. I mean, I've gone through the process at least 3 or 4 times, but either way, you're nervous on either end. But with the phone interview, I don't know what it is. Like, I sit there and I'm reciting, I take my notes and practicing, and I feel like I'm gonna puke. It's terrible. Like, I won't eat breakfast, or I'll eat something really light. 90% of the time I won't even finish it because my nerves are like, ooh. But more or less, when you get through it, you're like, done. So I have the questions here that the lovely recruiter asked me. I do not remember her name, but it was a total of, let's just count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 questions. And then we also discussed pay and scheduling. She gave a lot of detailed information as far as like the pay and all that fun stuff. I don't think I have that noted here, but I kind of remember it off the top of my head. And please don't quote me as far as the pay, because again, I don't have it real noted here and I don't know why. So the first question that I was asked was, why do you want to be a flight attendant with Endeavor Air? The second question was, can you describe a situation where you had to handle an emergency or safety sensitive situation? The third question was, as an Endeavor flight attendant, you may be working alone. How do you feel about working independently on our fleet? So there's that question, because in the beginning I kind of presented that it seems Endeavor Air does not have really large crews, whereas you might see a crew of like 5 or 7 with Delta or, Frontier, all these other airlines. You have at least a standard, I think, 4. And she kind of presented it that it would be yourself and maybe one other person, or you're just entirely alone. Me personally, my response to this question, I told her that I am perfectly comfortable working independently, and then I can work, dependently. So if I was put in a situation where I had to work with a team, I'm totally okay with that. I'm definitely a team player. So that's kind of where you can play around with a question like that. But of course, you want to be honest. I mean, if you do not feel comfortable working alone, you may want to rethink that or rethink applying to Endeavor Air. The fourth question was, what to you makes for excellent customer service? I think this is an easy one because, again, you can kind of add on to this from experience that you may have had in the past, current, with your jobs. So you can really play around with that one too. Can you relocate? I think this is always a question that's going to be asked no matter what airline you apply to, because I've always been asked this at least once or twice in the interview process. She did mention 2 bases, Atlanta and New York City, for Endeavor Air. And then she asked if I would be able to train in Atlanta, Georgia for 4 weeks. So this was surprising because I know generally the training process, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks with most airlines. The shortest, as you all know, that I went through myself was with Frontier Airlines, and theirs is about 3 weeks. Although considering with Endeavor Air that they are a subsidiary, I think it's, pretty understandable, and it seems that they have a good system in place to have at least a 4-week training course in Atlanta, Georgia. At the end, I was offered an invite to proceed and attend the hiring event. The only downfall for me personally was the travel arrangements are our responsibility. It's not covered by the airline unless, of course, something were to change. She did kind of give the impression that maybe in the future, depending on the time that you apply, that they would be willing to fly a candidate out. But it seems all around that Endeavor Air travel arrangements, are strictly our responsibility. So for me, at the end, we really got along well. I mean, it's a quick interview. You can't really get to know the person you're interviewing or, who's asking you the questions. But she was a very sweet lady. And of course, at the end, they ask, do you have any questions? And that's when I always take it upon myself to just ask the next steps in the interview process. And she told me, well, we would definitely like to invite you to the face-to-face, or what they call as a hiring event. They had one scheduled in Atlanta, and she mentioned that I could get flown out potentially the day before or day of. And then that's when I took an opportunity to also ask, as far as travel arrangements, if they covered that or we were to cover that. So again, Endeavor Air does not cover your flight to their hiring events as American Airlines would, or Frontier. I can't speak for others, but I know for sure they do not have that option available. So for someone like myself who just doesn't have a bunch of money sitting around, and considering what happened with training and still trying to get back on my feet, right now at the moment, as happy as I was to hear those words again, that, you know, you're invited to the face-to-face, it was unfortunate for me, but I more or less was expecting in the back of my mind that this probably wasn't going to work out, just because of how quickly it all happened, just immediate. Because I applied to Endeavor Air immediately after being dismissed from training. I want to say I was home, and it was maybe the first or second day that I was home after that loveliness. So with the way that everything panned out, I don't know, something in the back of my mind was like, I don't know that I'm ready to jump back into this, but we'll see where it goes. Because if you know as well as I do, for those of you that are still pursuing to become flight attendants, this process can take a really long time. I mean, you can be sitting waiting for as long as a year to hear something back. I still have yet, actually, fun fact, I have yet to hear back from Delta Airlines when I interviewed with them. And I mean, I know they say no news is good news, but that for me, you know, it can be unsettling at times, and a lot of times you just kind of forget about it because it takes that long. But then you're lucky in these situations like myself, where you can hear back in a week or 2 weeks, and then things just start rolling for you. So it really just depends. My advice is to definitely save up. That is definitely a smart plan. I can't do that right now because I have responsibilities at home, but of course in the future, I think I would definitely reapply to Endeavor Air. Now, I did ask and email the in-flight recruitment team about rescheduling, because she did mention if this were just not to work out, the date that she had given me, I think I had my interview that's the 16th, and the interview was going to be the following week, the 24th, on Wednesday. So that was like also short notice for me. We're getting time off from work.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Just want to let you know.
Thank you.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
You're great.
Thank you. My lovely boyfriend. He's always making cameos, guys. Do you guys want like actual video with him? Let me know. He has a fun personality. So yeah, she mentioned if I was not able to make it, to email them as soon as possible. So I did that, and they did get back to me within a few days, and they told me there was 2 hiring events. Actually, this month, it's May right now, so May 9th, and I think she said May 23rd in New York City. And that's a little bit more of a distance for me. I mean, it's around the same, but unfortunately I will not be able to make it to those because, again, with work and money, I just don't have $200 or more, or $100 just sitting around for a flight. That's not even guaranteeing I'll get the job. Don't get me wrong, and hopefully for those of you that have watched my other videos, you should know that I've definitely, you know, I understand that this is a gamble, you know, this entire process, that you can put all your ducks, is that the term? No. You could put all ducks in a row, no. You could put all your balls in one basket. I think that's the saying. Eggs in one basket. I'm terrible, guys. I'm hungry right now, so I'm thinking about food. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, or you can in this case, but you know, you kind of have to plan for these situations where you want to save up money, and you know, if you get a little curve, you know, a little curveball, that you can kind of bounce with that. So overall, the interview process was very easy. Do not freak out, you know, have faith in yourself. Confidence is key. My best advice in interview processes with airlines: take notes, definitely note down past questions like I have with your interviews, because this more or less, you might be asked again in another interview. So at least you're prepared going in. And if you've been at this is my 4th interview now. Yeah, 4th interview. You know, you are at least going in with, you know, a prepared mind, relax, breathe, because you got this. With really briefly, with the pay and scheduling, their scheduling is reserve. You do get, I think she said, a pay of $18.75, so it's a little bit cheaper than what I was going to be getting at Frontier, which was like $19.52, I think. Again, I'm so sorry if I'm wrong on these. I really don't remember off the top of my head as far as the pay, because that's not really what I'm focused on. I'm focused on all the other great things that we're discussing and just the interview questions themselves. Money is important, of course. You want to, get your worth, but I think that's pretty standard for a subsidiary airline. And then she mentioned it kind of sounded similar to Frontier and most other airlines, where you put on reserve and then you're given your per diem, and you're also given a guaranteed 75 hours. So that was also similar to Frontier, which I thought was great. But yeah, more or less, I just wanted to quickly put this all together for you guys, since I just recently interviewed with them. I definitely will be pursuing in the future, potentially with Endeavor Air, if they are hiring at the time that I'm officially ready and I'm prepared in all areas, because I did really enjoy the interview process with them. Again, they were very, very sweet. They're the lady I spoke to personally, it seems like they have a really good team put together. I've also seen a video, I think, on YouTube with Endeavor Air, and it just seems like all around a really good company. And I mean, who wouldn't want to be part of Delta, even if it's a subsidiary? I think that that's really awesome. And of course, you get all those lovely benefits. If you guys want to see more content, if I interview in the future again with another airline, I'll be sure to put another video like this together for you guys, because I do love helping those of you, again, that are in the same shoes as me. Wishing you guys all the luck, and hopefully we will be out there in the air soon, because I am not giving up on my dream, and I hope you don't either. Bye, guys.